Hi, everyone.
Hi.
Wow, it's a quiet room today. Okay, I thought I was tired. So, a lot of you may not know who I am. I'm Mrina Sugosh. I am a developer relations manager at CK Editor. So why am I here to talk? I was a developer at IBM Cloud for a few years, and then I moved to developer marketing at DigitalOcean and DevRel at CK Editor. If none of that interests you, fun fact, I traveled to 30 plus countries. Recently it was Croatia, that's the beautiful waterfalls and national park of Krka. Just trying to get you guys excited about me. And
Is that the one near Zagreb?
yeah, it's the one near Zadar. Well, Plivis is the one near Zagreb. I know the one. I also went there.
Okay.
Yes.
My son's there, so sorry.
No, that's really cool. That's a good question. Yeah, Croatia is a beautiful country, and in fact, I just landed from there yesterday. So this is a very recent picture, and slightly jet lagged, so bear with me today. All right, so today's talk. What are we talking about? We're going to talk about 6 challenges we ran into while building the AI assistant for CK Editor with an LLM like OpenAI. What are the challenges in integrating AI into your specific UI? And then the lessons we learned. So what were the solutions to those challenges? I'm not just going to leave you hanging there with questions, as much as a developer would do. Okay, one person got that joke. What we're not talking about, and I promise, how great and cool AI is, and then the technical ways to implement CK Editor or Gen AI into your application. I would love to talk about that after, but that's not what this talk is about. All right, before I get started, what challenges have you run into? How many of you have Gen AI in your applications or plan on putting it in your apps? Hesitant. There's one person. Put your hand up higher there. Yeah, there you go. What challenges have you run into? Now I'm picking on you.
Mostly the cost of running
Okay. Data storage, cost of running APIs, very valid points. We're going to be talking about a little bit more about the challenges from a UI perspective and UX perspective. So, what is generative AI? Like everyone does these days, I asked ChatGPT what it is. And it's basically, it produces a new set of data from existing data, like a new song from a collection of songs. Some popular Gen AI tools that I know we're all familiar with, ChatGPT, Anthropic, Gemini, Hugging Chat, Hugging Face also has models on the back end, but I'm putting that emoji for Hugging Chat. And then specific use cases, which I think is where the future is headed more than these generic use cases, like Notion AI, Copy AI, Jasper, and there's so much more. These are just some examples that I put up there. All right, why talk about AI? There was a science article published and extensive research done about how Gen AI, this is very early on too, this article dates back 2023, so a lot has changed since then. The AI has become smarter and better, and the average time taken to produce content, quality content, has actually increased by 40%, and the output quality has, or decreased by 40%, and the output quality, I told you jet lag, and the output quality has risen by 18%. I think that's pretty incredible if you think about it. If your content creators are creating content at 40% faster and 18% better, I will take that any day. But there's also this other side to it with AI, and I've seen this in a lot of cases where when you start talking about AI, people kind of have this AI fatigue these days. Everyone's talking about AI. Every product team is implementing AI, and it's almost tired of hearing about AI. And there's this great quote that Ezra Klein shows, watches that, or tunes into that. It says, today when somebody says that there's something with AI, usually it's not a praise, but rather a testament of how poor and untrustworthy it actually is. And that's not where you want to go if you implement AI. So just be aware of that. As great as it is, there's also some problems with it. All right, so before you start implementing AI, you do need to understand where your users are on this scale. And you're gonna soon notice that I love emojis. So I'm gonna do scales 1, 2, 3, 4. The magic number is usually 3, but I tried to do this in the presentation and then some of our product folks came back and said it doesn't make sense, so we're sticking with 4. So the first type of people who have never heard of AI, right? You've definitely had users who've never heard of AI. That's the first type of people. Second, they've heard of AI but don't trust it really. And then we have some who have fun with it, but they're really not sure how to get value out of it. And then we have the final kind of folks who are AI ninjas. They know everything about it. They're up to date with all of the models. They play around with it constantly. They use it to code. They use it for content. In fact, they have their own GPT assistants and they have their own custom GPTs. That's great for them. But most of your users, I would bet, are in this 1, 2, or maybe 3 category. So you do need to design your UX based on these folks. So let's go to the 6 challenges. So challenge number 1, most people can't write good prompts. LLMs today, you interact with them as you're interacting with them like you're typing a sentence. And this is backed by research. There's a great LinkedIn post by Jacob Nielsen. He's part of the Nielsen-Norman group, if anyone has heard of that. It's a very famous UX group. And it basically says that 20% of people today cannot write, or 20% of people can write good prompts, which means 80% can't write good prompts. And that's what you need to remember when you're developing, generative AI into your application. It's just the simple fact that there's 80% of people out there in the US who can't write good prompts. And I think I don't think it's a perfect measurement of extending out to the world, but I think this extends out pretty accurately. So, I love emojis. So, there's another really cool person that I follow, Cameron Adams, Chief Product Officer at Canva, and they basically said empty boxes are scary, right? The last thing you want to give is ChatGPT is great, but if you just put a ChatGPT integration, like an API integration for your users, it's scary. They don't know what to do with it. They can play around with it, they can have fun with it, but there's no use of it. And they kind of had this cool quote which they said, we introduce more visual options to help people prompt in the right way, and then tweak and adjust the output as needed. AI products are hence very much like regular products. So they're not different, they're not magical, they're not a one-stop solution. You have to treat the UX as the same processes, the same feedback loops as you would for a general product. All right, so going back to our scale, most people can't write good prompts. What is that solution? As I promised, I will go through solutions for each challenge that we face. So for those who are AI ninjas, who need more freedom, they actually like the blank box because they already have their pre-written prompts and things like that. They already have their syntax, they already have their templates. We created something that is very similar to ChatGPT for them within the editor, and we did give them the option of a blank box. But we also realized that for their other sets of users, we need to give them something more, something that is like pre-engineered prompts for their specific use case. In fact, we allow our developers to change these prompts. So we did a bunch of user research, I think over 600 user interviews, to understand what sort of prompts people are looking for, what is really useful. And we outlined this for a generic user base for our developers to start with. But then we also empower our developers to write their own prompts for their own users. So let's say they are developing for a legal firm, and they have specific legal jargon and documentation or templating, they can develop specific prompts for them. Or maybe it's a CMS solution and you need things like optimizing SEO, optimizing for keywords, so you can actually create prompts to do that specifically. So really understanding your users and creating pre-engineered prompts for their specific use case is really essential. All right. So what does this prompt look like behind the scenes? So we're an open source project, which means our prompt should also be open source, in my opinion. So if you look at improved writing, it's not really something that's long and is instructional. In fact, we keep it a little bit more conversational with our GPTs or the back end. And this is literally our prompt in the back end. We have a prompt that says, fix the spelling mistakes, use proper grammar, apply good writing practices, and so on and so forth. And then you have the content, which is the selected specification of content. So it's a very simple instruction set that we're giving GPT. Too much is, there is something as too much when it comes to instructions with GPT and prompts, and that's what we've realized. So we are trying to keep it simple and really address the specific use cases. Of course, you can make it more specific, but always keep it short and concise and instructional yet conversational. All right, let's do some exercises because I feel like some people are zoning out. What do you think clarify sentence would look like behind the scenes? If someone had to write a prompt to clarify a sentence, what would it look like?
More precise.
Okay.
Say it with less words.
Say it with less words, more precise. We can build on that. We can build on each other. I have no idea what happened.
It's been doing that.
Oh, there it is. I did not do anything. So, the next one, clarify sentence, looks like this. It basically says, the text seems complex or ambiguous. Clarify it while retaining its original meaning. So you need to do two things to clarify a sentence. Basically, you're first telling it what the problem is and then asking it for a solution. It's not always the case. What do you think formalized language looks like?
No slang.
Make it more professional.
Make it more professional. One more person. Then I'll stop asking everyone to participate.
Do you have to keep using that retain its original meaning?
Well, not necessarily, but that could be a good point. It depends on the use case, right? In this case, in general, we asked it in sort of a professional tone. Sometimes we found professional to add too much jargon. We wanted a formal tone. There was a difference between professional and formal, and there's lots of reading out there to inform you why that do words mean two different things. But yeah, the text appears to be written in an informal style. Please rewrite it in a formal tone. So that's what we do in the back end. It's very simple instructions, but the simpler they are, the better they go. All right. We didn't do this alone. A lot of resources are available for you out there on prompt engineering and how to write better prompts. These are links. I believe I'll send the slides to Evolving Web. We will also tweet them on CK Editor as well as my personal Twitter, and make sure you have access to them. So yeah, there's the 10 steps to writing a perfect prompt. We publish this based on our own insight at CK. There's also the Reddit. So I'm a developer at heart. So I love Reddit, and this is a great thread. Resources that improve my prompt writing. It's amazing. It's improved my prompt writing. And if you are a developer, you also know awesome GitHubs are great resources. There's actually an awesome ChatGPT prompts plus custom GPT GitHub. So definitely check that out. And then a few other prompting guides that I've found useful, as well as devs at our company. Okay, challenge number 2, and I did bad. So challenge number 2, responses are wildly unpredictable. Two things. As you saw in the first image, I have a dog, so I asked GPT and the CK assistant, write a blog about dogs. Again, this only connects to OpenAI. This is not something we're building our own LLM. So this is the same interface as if you were interacting with GPT. And you can see 2 different formats, 2 different styles. It was just very different. Like one is really casual, the other one is written as a blog, and I'm giving it the same instruction. That's not accurate, that's not the experience you want. And I know I said this is for AI ninjas, but we're not having a disclaimer saying, hey, use this only if you're an AI ninja. This should be useful for everyone. So there's another image, that's me. And I told GPT, now that I can recognize images, change this photo so you can see the arms and torso as well. What do you think it did?
Does it look like an octopus?
Well, no, but that's definitely not. So, I'm definitely not doing that. All right, so it's still not very accurate. So if someone's expecting a very accurate rendition on any form, right, text or visual, not gonna happen.
ChatGPT's cruising Instagram too much.
Maybe. All right, responses are wildly unpredictable. That was the challenge, right? And we saw some examples. So what is the solution? And as we explained earlier, you got to test and refine on an ongoing basis. You have to look at your usage logs. You need to understand where your users are having pain points. Maybe you do A/B testing. Maybe you yourself are writing prompts and creating a prompt writing cycle. This is an example of something we have where we constantly iterate on our prompts. So the prompts that you see today might not be the same as what it is 6 months later. So you do need to have like an iterative cycle on that. Okay, challenge number 3. Response formatting is inconsistent. It's very similar to responses are inconsistent in the sense that here I asked it, write about the benefits of exercise for people who are non-native English speakers. It's great, I wrote it like a blog. I just changed the sentence a little bit. Pretend I'm person 2, and ask the same thing as like using language understood by non-native English speakers, write about the benefits of exercise. And maybe someone in I've given this talk once before, and someone pointed out that I didn't use proper grammar there, which, sorry, my bad. But, you know, I just switched the sentence over, the sentence structure, and used improper grammar before someone else points that out. And I got like almost like a poetic, meaningful message, like exercise is a language lesson for your body. The more you practice, the better you get. Like, great, that's not what I really wanted. So the formatting is really inconsistent. And so what we did is before every prompt and after every prompt, we started kind of specifying for our pre-written prompts by saying, your task is to execute the instruction, which is the prompt you saw originally, provided, using the HTML content provided. So we're specifying the type of the content that's coming in so they understand what's in this context. Follow the instruction closely. So we're saying stick to this specific instruction. And then we're saying your answer must be a properly formatted HTML code. So what you return back should be something our editor can actually understand, which is an HTML editor. And then do not add any additional remarks or notes. Don't act like a chatbot or a person. So we recognize there needs to be some medium, and the reason we said don't act like a chatbot is because sometimes we found it using some formal jargon, and as I said, formal and professional are words that it takes too seriously, and it understands what a chatbot is. And if you say a real person, we also want it to be creative. We don't want it to only stick to the constraints of what human language is today. We do want it to be creative in things like improving writing or supplemental language or summarizing. So, yeah. Finally, just specify the output in detail in your applications, because if you don't, then you're going to get things that are completely different, and your users are going to be discouraged to use your AI assistant. All right, challenge number 4. Errors don't make sense to users. So we're developers, or actually, I didn't ask this question. How many of you are developers? Okay, so 50% of us are developers, and we often get error messages from the APIs. So most LLMs today are APIs, so we most likely get some error messages that look like this. Incorrect API key provided SK blah blah blah. You can find this key at this platform.openai.com. Like, great, but none of your users are going to understand what an API key is, why they should go there, and they're probably not even going to have the right access for this. The second error that could come up is like the context length. Your context length has 4,097 tokens. However, your messages have 9,487 tokens. Please reduce them. No one knows what a token is. Actually, how many of you know what a token is? See? Like, I would say 4 people raised their hand pretty confidently saying they know exactly what a token is. It's not usable. So contextualize them. Make sure you understand what all the possible errors the API is going to return, and make sure they're contextualized. You know the exact translation that's going to show up on your API. So, for example, we've encountered an error with our AI engine. I think someone will understand what an engine is, an AI engine. Our team has been notified, and we'll look into this shortly. Contact us at support, right? Give them the opportunity to say that there is an error, and then explain what too many tokens are. Say, hey, the text that you entered is too long for our AI engine. AI engine is something we realized works pretty well for our use case. You don't have to use AI engine. and then try shortening it under 1,500 words. So that is what that translates to. Look up what token to word translation is or token to character translations. These are something that most people understand over just saying tokens. All right, challenge number 5. There's no standardized UI for AI. It's not just like picking up a blog site and saying, I'm gonna go build it. It's pretty challenging. There's a lot of different versions of it. This is a little bit older thing when generative AI was experimental on Google. Throw back to that. But now there's a newer screenshot that I will update. You know, there's Copilot, there's Canva, there's Jasper Chat. These are all so different. Copilot has something inbuilt to your editor. Canva has something like almost like a chatbot, but built in with different pre-written prompts. Jasper Chat, you can paste in your blog post and get specific examples of things. Yeah, there's just so much. All right, blank canvas. The solution really is you need to understand your users. This isn't about what another company is doing or another product is doing. This is about your user's workflow. Our user's workflow is writing content in a text editor, and that's why we have pre-written prompts. Maybe your user's workflow is creating images. So maybe like Canva, you have some preset images that they can draw inspiration from. So build it in, always build it in rather than bolt it on. Your users will know when you bolt it on. I did not do that. All right, don't just add a chat box to the sidebar of your app. I've actually seen a few websites today that have started doing that. They just add a chat box or to their docs. I don't know if anyone has seen that. I've seen these chat bots just appear in the docs and say, look, we will answer any questions on this documentation. Ask them one technical documentation, it fails, and I'm never using that chat bot again as a developer. So if that's my experience, don't do that unless you really think your devs are gonna, or devs or users are gonna get value out of it. All right, and of course, we didn't invent the wheel on design patterns for AI. Here are some of the resources that were used by us and our team. Some of my favorite ones was, well, the first one is more a blog on our site on this talk, but it's summarized. And then, yeah, just go through these resources, it'll go great. All right, challenge number 6. Everyone's doing it, but it's hard to stand out. Well, the solution, again, goes back to your users. Think about how you can really add value to your users. Don't just make it as a checkbox, I need to add AI to my application. Really think about if you need AI, first question. And if you don't add it. And I think a lot of you have made that decision. And the second thing is, once the AI craze dies down, which it will calm down, what is the long-term results and business benefits for you? If there's no benefit, then why are you doing this in the first place? All right, just to recap, these were the 6 challenges that we faced and the lessons that we learned. Pre-written prompts are great to get your users started. Test and refine your prompts all the time. Specify your output format in detail so people know how to format it. If errors don't make sense, contextualize them for your users. Plug into your user's workflow rather than bolting it on. And add value to UX rather than just adding it. Any questions? One question.
Do you have any statistics around with how many users are actually making use of CK Editor AI integration?
That's a good question. We actually have, I don't know exactly how many. It changes on a monthly basis. But I would say we launched this probably late 2023, and by Q1 we had a customer actually put this on the roadmap and even launched the AI assistant in their public all hands that was on YouTube. So we've had folks who've had immediate adoption of the AI assistant, and then we've of course had folks who are like, now why do I need this? What's the value of it? And things like that. So I don't have the stats, but I do know that there are customers for it.
Thanks for answering that.
Yeah. Any other questions on AI, Gen AI, UI, and UX? Okay, go for it. And then.
So
course, project engineering is very, very key and can affect like the results that you get from the LLM. I was just wondering if you did anything with, I guess, adjusting, because I know there's like a temperature setting with, and that can also affect in a way the results that you would get. I was wondering if you did any work with that.
Yes. So
Repeat the question for them.
So the question was on prompt engineering. I'm going to summarize the question. Prompt engineering is crucial, and there's this thing called temperature settings, which affects the randomness of your output, basically. It's one of the things you pass into OpenAI's API or any other GenAI API. And yes, we have done work on that, and we landed on our users, most of them are writers. They want something creative, so we landed on a temperature setting of 0.7 by default for our developers. But our developers have the capability to adjust that for their users and their content. We really believe in this concept of bring your own AI to CK. So you're not locked into OpenAI, you're not locked into a temperature setting, and you're not locked into a model. So the developers have control over it, but our default is 0.7. You had a question? Yes. Hi. No, it was you. Yes.
So I appreciate the comments you just made about the fact that the developers have the ability to choose whatever AI. And I'm wondering though, are there any opportunities for you to introduce ways to help content users use AI in a way that ensures it aligns with standards and governance, and is there anything like that would be baked into CK Editor?
So we don't bake it into CK Editor, but that's where I think it goes back to prompts. I've been asked to repeat the question. The question was, can you bake in content governance into CK Editor? And the answer really is, if we start becoming very specific to every specific content product, the prompts will get too specific. Now, what we recommend is to take our pre-existing prompts and fit it to your use case. So if you are creating a specific design template, a specific governance over content pieces, blog posts, articles, whatever your content is, bake it into those prompts. Give examples. You can even train your models to have that knowledge space. I would say think about creating your own custom GPT would be my recommendation, and connect your CK Editor AI or whatever AI you want to that custom GPT rather than using like a public model that's trained on generic cases. Awesome. I think that's time. Thank you so much.